Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and man, oh man, Donald Trump made historic news over the weekend on a Sunday, which is supposed to be a day of no news. He just made a deal that shows that, contrary to what the media tell you, the Democrats, the never-Trumpers, the Republican establishment, tariffs do work. Tariffs do work. President Trump just made a massive deal, which we're going to go through and celebrate right now, with the second largest economy in the world, and that is the European Union. We are the largest economy in the world, and by we, the United States of America. We are the largest economy in the world by far. The EU is number 2. And this is a really amazing thing. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you watch my podcast live on YouTube, you can call in, and the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. Now, this was really an insane event that happened with President Trump. It happened at his resort, his golf club in Scotland. And I watched President Trump have a pretty cool press conference with the EU president. And it was at his Turnberry, Scotland golf course. And she didn't say much. Trump was talking about a lot of the big issues to the press. And she didn't say too much. She said a little bit here and there, but not too much. Although she was talking about their problems with the immigration that's going on. And she said a thing or two, but not much. But I thought it was really interesting that the EU president actually went to Trump. He didn't go to her. She came to him because he's the president of the United States. And it's a sign of respect. And it also shows you who the boss is. And the boss is President Trump. So I watched the whole press conference, and it was really good. I watched it on Right Side Broadcasting, RSBN, on YouTube. And it was interesting, and I watched it. I love what he said about windmills and everything. And then it was over. And I went on about my Sunday, and then I started getting notifications on my phone. They came right back in and announced that they had signed this historic trade deal. I'm going to play you the exchange in a moment. But here's the thing. You know, when President Trump came in at the beginning of this second non-consecutive term of his, he was talking about the tariffs right away, the import taxes. And everyone went against him. The TV pundits, the never-Trumpers, the Democrats, the Bush Republicans, the neocons, whoever you want to say, oh, the tariffs, who's good? And how many times have you heard me get a call from someone on the program here, and they'd say something like, well, who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this? All of a sudden, liberals were against a tax, and they didn't call them import taxes. They called them tariffs because they don't want to say out loud that a tax is bad because liberals love taxes, so they were coming out against tariffs, which are import taxes. And Trump stuck to it. And one by one, he's made the big deals around the world. But this one with the EU, because we're the number one economy, they're the second largest economy, that collection of countries. And they're about the size of us. They're close to us. We're bigger, but they're close to us. They're number 2. This deal is huge. It really is huge. So let me share this. This is the president. Came back in. This is in Scotland with the president of the EU making the announcement.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion.
Okay, now let me stop here. Now, this is just fantastic. 600 billion. $600 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 billion. This has happened. I've lost track of how many times it's happened. The first couple times it happened, it was like so weird because it had never happened before. And now it's happening all the time with President Trump. When President Trump, he keeps having these press conferences with world leaders like this or business leaders of major companies talking about money being brought into the United States from Japan, from Europe, all over the world. You never hear this with presidents. All the other presidents before Donald Trump, they have press conferences and they brag about how much of our money they're giving away to other countries. Or sometimes they travel to other countries and say, yeah, we're going to give you like $1 trillion. I know $1 trillion is not a real number, but they give away so much money, it might as well be a fictitious number, right? The number's so large that they're giving away all the time that the human mind can't even comprehend it, the size, the amount of money. This president, Donald Trump, is the first president of the United States to ever bring money into the country. And so far as Europe, the energy is oil, coal, and natural gas. We have more oil than any other country in the world. And the same goes for natural gas and coal. That's why, all these liberal fake do-gooders who say, oh, this land belongs to the Native Americans and the Indians and the Sioux and the Cherokee, all this nonsense. The land that is the United States is so rich in resources, and not just oil, coal, natural gas. We have the thickest topsoil in the world and everything about this is it. I know they want to tell you that the Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. That's BS. Don't buy that. Ukraine is the breadbasket of mail-order brides, corruption, and endless wars. Okay, they're not the bread. We're the breadbasket. And with this, so this country would have been taken over by someone if it wasn't our founders. But being the largest economy in the world, that carries a lot of juice. If Donald Trump was president in 1941, Pearl Harbor wouldn't have happened. Because he understands how to deal with these other countries. If you remember, there was an oil embargo that FDR had on Japan because they invaded China, and that's what led to Pearl Harbor, among other things, and the conspiracy and all that. President Trump understands these foreign leaders. All they care about is money. They care about power too, but it's more money than power. The power is a means to get the money. We've never had investments coming into this country. They're always going out. And so far as Europe, this globalization thing that's been going on the last few years, what globalism is a big way to rip off the United States. It's just like those Paris Accords and all those things on climate change. It's a big racket to get the United States to send more money. We've given more than enough money to Europe, okay? We rebuilt them after 2 world wars. We've been banking them and defending them since the end of the Second World War, and it's out of control. And now things are coming back here, and it's about time. Could you imagine what would the state of the American economy be if Kamala Harris would have won that election, or if Biden was president? Now, let me rewind this with the president. I'm sorry I interrupted it, but this is for a president of the United States to have. Does anyone know how many press conferences he's had of investments coming into the United States? For a president of the United States to bring money back into this country, and huge amounts of money. And by the way, I saw one of the. I can't remember who it was from the cabinet today. I saw one of President Trump's cabinet members on one of the Sunday shows today. And with this deal and everything they've done so far is covering about 1/4 of the debt that the country has racked up from all these corrupt leaders, about 1/4 of the debt. And we're only 6 months in to Trump's second term. This is amazing. All right, let me rewind this. This is President Trump with the president of the EU at his golf club in Scotland, going through the deal that he just made with the EU.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff.
Wow.
So that's a very big factor.
Wow.
Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that, I mean.
Okay, and this is now Europe's finally buying military equipment as opposed to us paying for it, making it look as if they're buying it through NATO, right? And this is amazing.
Till somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way ahead of every other country in terms of the quality of the military equipment. You saw that recently in Iran, and you see that, unfortunately, you see that often for all the wrong reasons, right? So those things are $750 billion, $600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great.
No, there we go. Drill, baby, drill. I've got a drill, baby, drill baseball hat. Maybe I should put that on during the break. I don't know. But, this is another thing, right? Buy energy. So that, of course, is coal, natural gas. But oil. We don't need these other countries, they don't need to be importing oil from these terrorist front states in the Middle East. We've got it. And by the way, this is replacing a lot of the energy that Europe is getting from Russia. They're telling us that Russia is our enemy, that we need to go to war with Russia. At the same time, they're still buying energy from Russia. They should be buying it from us. Meanwhile, liberals have been slowing down our production of energy for years. They're sick. And President Trump was talking about this with windmills earlier when he had the press conference with the EU president. These green people are full of it. They're just con men that are trying to sell you a bunch of crap to make money. It's not about saving the planet. Remember, did you see what he said about the windmills? He said the windmills, after 8 years, they rust. You can't dispose of the propeller off of them. He says you can't bury them. They're made of a material that damages the soil. And, of course, they're made in China.
And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors, other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong with NATO. So I just want to congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of playing games. So we got the separate deal with the UK. Now he's got this deal with the EU. How could anyone be against this? Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. If you're watching live, give me a call. The number is pinned in the live chat. If you're watching on YouTube, it's toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Here's a story out of the Daily Mail. President Donald Trump announced he had reached a very powerful trade deal with the European Union that would lower barriers to U.S. exporters and bring new European investments into the United States. What argument could you possibly make against any of that? And a lot of that's going to be, he's bringing back factories here. So we're going to, and of course the auto industry is going to come back. Any of you, by the way, when they drop the interest rates and you get to deduct the interest on the loan of a new American-made car, how many of you thinking about buying a new American-made car with that? Absolutely. And by the way, I wonder, does that mean like a BMW that's made in the United States, a Toyota that's made in Louisiana, do you get the tax break on that? I don't know, but everybody we'll find out. We'll know. And of course, we're going to become a major exporter of all kinds of things. We're bringing washing machine factories back to the United States, Donald Trump is. President Trump, he said a couple months ago, I don't want to bring T-shirt factories back. I want to bring real factories that build machinery. So we got cars, washing machines, all these things that we're doing in this country. So now we're going to be exporting for the first time, well, probably since the end of the Second World War, we probably did a lot of exporting, but we're going to be exporting cars to Europe. And one of the reasons American-made cars aren't too popular in Europe is because of those huge tariffs they've been ripping us off with. All right, let's take a call or two before we get into more details. Very exciting day. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
I can. What's your name?
Hi. My name is Sam. I'm from Maryland.
Okay. Oh, boy, here we go. Yes. What's on your mind?
What does that mean?
I don't know. I just hear a tone from you. What's on your mind?
I'm just curious why we're distracted from the fact that our current president is on the Epstein list.
Yeah, see, this is their response to everything. I'm not talking about Epstein. Okay? Didn't I tell you guys over a week, 8 days ago, I came on this channel and I said, every time we talk about something going good with Trump, the liberals are going to inject the name Epstein. I'll tell you what, you get your own show and you can talk about Epstein all day and all night. How about that? All right, let's get back to, oh, you know what? Let me take a quick break and then we'll get back to all this, okay? My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. We'll take a quick break and be back.
Looking for luxury that lasts? Elevate your space with premium furniture and cutting-edge technology at Elixene.com. That's ELIXENE.com. From smart home innovations to statement-making designs, every piece is crafted for style and performance. Right now, discover exclusive high-end deals only for a limited time. Luxury redefined, innovation delivered. Visit Elixene.com today. Elixene, where elegance meets innovation. Generation X. We've lived through it all. Rotary phones, dial-up internet, smartphones, and now artificial intelligence. But today's AI revolution isn't just another tech trend. It's redefining how we work, how we live, and how we make our decisions. In the book, Thriving at the Crossroads, Generation X and the Ethical AI Revolution, author Martin Duplessis, a technology executive with over 30 years of experience and founder of the Ethical AI organization, delivers a clear, no-nonsense guide tailored for Gen X. Thriving at the Crossroads breaks down what AI really is, how it affects your career, finances, and privacy, as well as why Generation X must take the lead in shaping AI's ethical future. Thriving at the Crossroads isn't about hype or fear. It's about understanding, responsibility, and action. Because if Gen X doesn't steer the conversation on AI, who will? Thriving at the Crossroads is available right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, Kindle Unlimited, and audiobook. The future needs Gen X right now more than ever. Order your copy today. Step into the world of the old gods, where wisdom is carved in stone and every rune tells a story. At NorseRunestones.com, they don't just make products, they craft relics of the Viking Age, handmade with care, soul, and authenticity. Each set of runestones is one of a kind, forged by hand, and inspired by the ancient elder Futhark. Whether you're seeking spiritual guidance, a connection to Norse mythology, or a meaningful gift, at NorseRunestones.com, you'll find more than just craftsmanship, you'll find a legacy. Mass production has no place at NorseRunestones.com. These are artifacts built to honor the gods, the ancestors, and the old ways. Want a glimpse of what the runes have to say to you? Try their daily runestone drawer. It's a simple way to get wisdom from the gods when you're on the go. Visit NorseRunestones.com and explore their full collection. Also, make sure to follow on TikTok at Norse Stones to join the journey and share the links on all your social media. NorseRunestones.com. Forged by hand, guided by legend.
I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday, the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. If you're on hold, stand by. We're celebrating this historic tariff victory, this trade deal that President Trump just made with the EU. Did any of you catch any of the Sunday shows? You want to talk, these Sunday shows talk about being behind the news. So, what's her name? Kristen Welker. She's the hostess of Meet the Press. And she had on Lindsey Graham today. And Lindsey Graham made a fool out of her on her own program. I'm going to play some of this to you in just a moment. We'll take some calls in a few minutes. But, you know, I tell you often, and I've said this for a decade, I will never disagree with Donald Trump. I will always back and support Donald Trump. I'll never criticize Donald Trump, with the exception of this. There's only one thing that I will disagree with President Trump on. I'll never get sick of winning. That's it. Other than that, I'm not going to disagree with President Trump on anything. And you see these meltdowns that are going on because of all this winning that's happening. You know, the permanent Washington class, the ruling elite, the donors, the deep state, the establishment of both parties, all the, the great Hulk Hogan just died. Did any of you grow up watching professional wrestling? And I saw Ric Flair, who was just bawling on TV, talking about his friend Hulk Hogan. And I went to a wrestling match when I was a little kid once, and I never saw Hulk Hogan in person, but I saw Ric Flair once in person. And I went behind, it was in this local auditorium here in Florida, small place, and I was so excited because everybody loves Ric Flair. And when it was over, I went like behind the auditorium, and I saw him back there hanging out on a golf cart, buddying up with the guys that he was fighting in the ring earlier. And professional wrestling, they're all friends. It's all, they're not really, enemies and all that stuff. Well, the Republican establishment and the Democrat establishment before Trump, our entire lives, were always on the same page. They'd go on TV and say they had different platforms and everything, but they were always on the same page, the Republicans and the Democrats. It was all a show. I mean, look at what great friends George W. Bush is with that scumbag Bill Clinton. If I was hanging around with a guy who was doing the stuff that guy's been doing his whole life, my wife would be plenty ticked, and so would yours, guys, right? And now we have an adversarial position because we have a real president who's really doing what he was elected to do, and the ruling elite just can't handle it. So Kristen Welker with Lindsey Graham today, she's a real piece of work, and I don't talk about her too much, but when I do, I give just a little bit of a background. Kristen Welker is so deep in the Democrats' pocket, okay? In this segment, she's going to talk to Lindsey Graham about what Tulsi Gabbard dropped this week, that Barack Obama organized this illegal coup. Well, what coup is not illegal, right? They're all illegal. That Obama had organized this coup against President Trump. And she has Lindsey Graham on here to try to discredit all of this classified information that Tulsi Gabbard declassified, detailing all of it. And it's important to understand Kristen Welker. Her and her family are so tight with the Obamas. When Obama was president and his girls were little girls, Kristen Welker and her parents spent Christmas Eve and Christmas morning in the White House with the Obamas. They woke up and celebrated Christmas in the morning with Barack, Michelle, and Sasha and Malia when they were little girls. That's Kristen Welker. So for her to go on Meet the Press and try to discount this Obama espionage coup story is insane. And everyone knows about this in Washington, and they know a lot more about her connections than I do. So listen to this fake news anchorette with Lindsey Graham today on Meet the Press.
Hold on, Senator. As you know, former President Obama has weighed in through a spokesperson. He says that's just patently false. I actually spoke to Susan Miller, who's a former senior CIA officer who helped oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian interference. She says it's completely false that Obama or anyone else asked them to change or sway their investigation. She says they all, she says, and she's a Republican, says they all would have quit if that had happened. Senator, are you trying to rewrite history to distract from the Epstein matter, Senator?
No, I'm... Oh, my goodness. See, just like these trolls I get on the phones, they're up against... Don't you hear the anxiety in her voice? Is it to distract from the Epstein matter? Hey, how about you spending Christmas morning with the Obamas in the White House with Sasha and Malia when they were like 8? Why don't you disclose that, Kristen Welker, how tight you are with this coup leader, Barack Obama?
I'm trying to let you know and the media know that we found something we didn't know before. At the end of the day, I'm not calling for a prosecution against President Obama for treason, but I am calling for an investigation. Mr. Miller also said there was no credible evidence that President Trump colluded with the Russians.
That's right.
For years and months and days and weeks, people had their lives turned upside down chasing the Mueller narrative that Trump was in bed with the Russians, that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians. The only people colluding with the Russians were the Hillary Clinton campaign.
That's right.
Christopher Steele manufacturing a document to get warrants against Carter Page.
And remember, Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, signed off on the approval to give 20% of the American uranium deposits to Russia. So Russian nuclear missiles pointed at American cities and European cities, with everything that's going on, have American uranium, weaponizing them courtesy of Mrs. Clinton.
Based on lies and falsehoods. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with it. What you don't seem to acknowledge is there's something new being found.
Yeah.
Rather than reinventing the wheel here, let's go back to a special counsel model to look at this something new. The something new is statements by President Obama. I don't like your analysis. Russia wasn't involved here in 2016.
Senator, you're saying there's something new. This report goes back to 2020. It's 5 years old. There's actually nothing new in this report and nothing that changes any conclusion. But
see, this is something that this Obama hackette is leaving out. This information, these documents Tulsi Gabbard released are not new documents. That is accurate. However, what Kristen Welker leaves out, other than her tight connection with the Obama family, which is, I think, relevant. Shouldn't she have to disclose that, especially in a discussion like this? The documents were hidden, right? They hid them. They classified them ultra secret, above top secret, and put them in some filing cabinet under lock and key, and no one knew about them. They were hidden.
But I want to talk about
she
Gaza,
turned over
Senator.
is new to me.
Senator,
it's new to me.
And he's a top guy with all the security clearances.
Senator,
you're trying to sweep this stuff under the rug, and that's not right.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness. I think Lindsay did a good job there. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Do what?
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Evan. I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
All right, Evan in Houston. What's on your mind?
Man, so look, I'm a younger guy. I'm a conservative, kind of have been my whole adult life.
But get to the but.
I'm not having a good time right now, man. I'm
get a girlfriend, get a job, and get a life. Is it Trump's responsibility for you to have a good time? Oh my goodness.
No, dude. I mean, it's just the job. The economy isn't that great right now.
Really? What do you do for a living?
I'm a machinist.
Really? You're a machinist? What do you machine?
So right now I do aerospace R&D prototyping.
Okay, so what are you prototyping now, and for what?
It's for Raytheon, primarily
Is it
generators and
a generator? Like what kind of generator are you machining, and what's it for?
Industrial grade.
And what's it for?
It's like
what does the generator go in?
Usually.
Huh?
About 10 megawatt.
What does the generator go to? What does the generator power? What does it generate power for? The generator that you machine.
For cities, natural gas, hydrogen.
Oh well, that's perfect. This deal that Trump made with the EU today is for American energy, which would include the things you just mentioned. And you're gainfully employed. So what do you mean the economy's not going well? You're working. Get off the phone with your fantasy life. Oh, my goodness. So back to this deal. He's not having a good time. Well, that's Trump's fault. I'm sorry. Maybe the girls don't like you. Oh, my goodness. Back to this. So President Donald Trump, this is in the Daily Mail. President Donald Trump announced he had reached a very powerful trade deal with the European Union that would lower barriers to U.S. exports and bring new European investments into the United States. Trump called it a very powerful deal as well as a very big deal. It's the biggest of all the deals. He also called it the biggest deal ever made. And that is not an exaggeration because, as I say, we are the number one largest economy in the world. The EU, with all those countries connected in the EU, is the second largest economy. Speaking from his Turnberry golf course. Now, is it not amazing? When I was watching the press conference with the president, with the EU pres today, I said to my wife, isn't it like super cool that the president of the United States owns golf courses and golf resorts all over the world? It's absolutely amazing. It's exciting. Speaking from his Turnberry golf course, that's awesome. Trump said European Union countries would purchase $750 billion of energy, just like that caller there, natural gas, whatever, oil, coal, from the United States, and provide an additional $600 billion in U.S. investments. All of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. You know, in the earlier press conference they had, the EU president said, when it comes to trade, we have a surplus, the United States have a deficit, we have to correct that. And I knew things were going well when I heard her say that. That's exactly right. And the reason we have a deficit, see, here's the deal, okay? The reason we have had a deficit and they have a surplus is because, you know, President Trump, he's at his golf resort in Scotland. And you know how he made the money for that. He did all these great buildings, these great projects, TV star, all this stuff. He sold hotel rooms, golf club memberships, country club memberships, things like that, right? These politicians like Schumer, that's worth $80 million, Nancy Pelosi, who's worth $250 million. The Bidens may not be worth all that much because they have all those vices. But all these people in government are millionaires many, many times over because they sell what they got to sell. Trump sells hotel rooms, golf memberships, and such. These politicians, what they sell is America out. And these trade imbalances are how they make their money. Okay, we'll screw over the whole country with the import-export tariffs, but you got to give us some money on the back end so that we're rich. That's it. All right, back to this. All the country, this is from the Daily Mail, this article. All of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff, and they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment, Trump added. We don't know what that number is. Now, keep in mind, we've been giving them the military equipment, basically, because we've been funding NATO. Those days are over. It came after, what is that? I can't, invade against, it came after Trump against one-sided trade with Europe as he sat down at his Turnberry golf course with the EU Commission president while raging against windmills and saying there were prospects for reaching a deal imminently. And they did it like right after this press conference. The EU president, she says, we want to rebalance the trade relations. This was right before they signed the deal. We want to rebalance the trade relations. See, the reason they're rebalancing this is not because the EU has a soft spot in their heart for the United States. They're focused, they're concerned about themselves, like most people. But since we're the number one economy in the world, we're the largest economy in the world and the largest consumer nation in the world, these countries around the world, like in Europe, can't survive without us. We don't need anything from them. Nothing. Nada. Trump flashed his anger when a reporter asked if the turmoil over the Jeffrey Epstein story had contributed to the rush to get the deal done. Trump says, oh, you've got to be kidding me. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would make that. This had nothing to do with it, Trump responded. Absolutely. These people in the press are sickos. This is just a great day. All right, we're going to take a quick break. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, please do. The number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms. We'll be right back.
Imagine stepping into your kitchen and it's filled with vibrant vegetables, fragrant spices, and the joy of creating meals that nourish your body and the planet. In the new book, Plant-Powered Plates, Sustainable Plant-Based Pleasures for Every Palate, from author Bain Kalange. Available on Amazon, you'll discover 100 delicious plant-based recipes designed to fuel you with energy and simplify your transition to a balanced vegan lifestyle. From mindful eating and nutrition essentials to a 30 everyday meal plan. The author is passionate about healthy, sustainable living and has a love for simple, nourishing meals and mindful habits. He wrote Plant-Powered Plates to help others just like you enjoy the benefits of plant-based eating and shares practical, actionable ideas that'll inspire a balanced, thoughtful lifestyle, one plate at a time. Order your copy of Plant-Powered Plates right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. You know their favorite show. You know how they take their coffee. But do you know what your partner really needs to feel loved? To feel seen. Too many couples drift apart, not because they stop caring, but because they stop really connecting. The Power of Knowing Your Partner is a must-read, eye-opening book that shows you how to bring mindfulness into everyday moments, so you can stop going through the motions and start building a relationship that lasts. If you're ready to deepen your bond, rebuild your connection, or simply become a better partner, go to thebestlife8.com. That's the number 8, thebestlife8.com, and order your copy of The Power of Knowing Your Partner, because knowing them better starts with being present right now. Thebestlife8.com. What do you do when the people who raised you are gone? Unparented, a Dead Parents Club podcast is a powerful and personal program with host Robert Delfave. He's a husband, a father, and a son who lost both of his parents before turning 30. Unparented isn't just about grief. It's about those quiet, unspoken moments that come after, the lingering echoes, as well as the strength it takes to move forward, and the stories we all carry. On each episode, Robert shares honest reflections, sometimes his own, and sometimes from guests. He speaks with therapists, counselors, and everyday people just like you who are learning how to live after parental loss. In one recent episode, Robert speaks with Jogn. He lost his father just a few short months ago. They explore the pain of those unfinished conversations, the pressure to stay strong, and what it means to become the parent you never had. If you've lost a parent or love someone who has, you're not alone. Listen to Unparented, a Dead Parents Club podcast with Robert Delfave, now streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Pocket Cast. Have you ever wished someone could just explain family dysfunction in plain, easy-to-understand English, and maybe even make you laugh a little too? The first book, Adult Children Decoded, Break the Chains of Family Dysfunction, from author David Keyes, helps you set boundaries, break toxic cycles, and find emotional freedom. In Book 2, Adult Children Decoded, Faith After Fire, author David Keyes goes deeper, exploring spiritual healing, family trauma, and even the challenges of narcissistic family patterns, all in a way that's easy to understand and genuinely uplifting. Both books are available right now on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. That's Adult Children Decoded, from author David Keyes. Compassionate, practical, and written for everyday people just like you who are ready to stop surviving and start living.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. It is the Brian Craig Show podcast. If you're on hold, hang in there. I want to get to some of the audio sound bites of the president when they had this press conference, which was really good. I loved it, especially the two parts when he was talking about the windmills and the immigration problem in Europe. And then that was it. It was over. And then they came back and they had signed that they just left for a few minutes and signed the deal and came back. I was like, what? And there was a follow-up press conference. Let me play some of the clips. Here's the president. This is, again, at his golf resort in Scotland with the president of the EU. They've just signed this incredible deal proving that tariffs do indeed work.
Cars basically were not invited. We're not, I don't know if the word is not allowed or just, you just kept them out somehow, right? But cars will be, we have some cars that do terrific business and we do really well with the pickup trucks, with the SUVs. We have some great things, and I think the people of Europe will have some diversification. I think that'll make them happy. So I think maybe cars would be the one that would go the biggest, and the second would be agriculture, the farmers. And we'll do it in very strict conjunction with the president and the European Union. And they're coming into our country with great vigor. And I think they're going to make a lot of money with this. I think everybody is. I think and again, it's going to bring a lot of unity and friendship. It's going to work out really well.
Yeah, all this talk about farmers in this country that President Trump's talking about, it won't be too long. He's going to start seizing this farmland that China's been buying up. You know that, right? Which will be a beautiful thing. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. This is Nick out of Baltimore.
Hey, Nick. What's up?
A great show. I wanted to mention this. If you just go over everything that President Trump has done, how he's touched everyone's life, every aspect of our society here, he's done it in a positive way. We are at the point where we are really going to come back and benefit from everything that he's doing. And what the liberals don't understand, or what they don't want to understand, and the media is propagandizing everything, is that when these deals go through, the $750 billion deal that he just initiated here, $600 billion with investment in the European Union, the whole economy is going to benefit. I mean, the regeneration and rejuvenation of our economy is going to be incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's going to benefit. And the world will benefit from it, too.
I imagine, this is before my time, your time too, but this is what it was like in this country in the 50s, this era of just economic boomtown going on, and that's what's happening. When President Trump says "Make America Great Again," he means economically first, I think.
For everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
For everyone, and that's the point here. And this is what everyone, what the liberal propaganda, fake news media is doing, is they're trying to just throw out this propaganda BS. They're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and they're inventing all this stuff because they have nothing, like you've said. But the basic bottom line is, and now they're also talking about, he's again talking about that rebate, to give that rebate, giving that rebate to
Can't wait for that.
all of us, yeah. I hope it's for everyone, because I'm on Social Security and fixed income. So I think that'll, but even so, we're all going to benefit from it, and this is the main point.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And don't let the media take away from it. The media is garbage, and you've said that many times, and it's true. And so is the president.
Well, you can see the media. Nick, the media are in a complete panic right now because of the success of Trump. The very fact that he returned to office is a miracle in itself. You guys know Butler, the lawfare, and this is the most exciting. I was a kid when Ronald Reagan was president, but I was old enough to experience it. That was nothing like this. Yeah, you're in college, but that was nothing like this. What Reagan was doing was great to defeat the Soviet Union and things like that, and this is for us right here at home what he's doing.
Well, this is similar to, and I'm not. I was born after World War II. I was born in the late 50s, in 1957. But that after World War II, all these cities experienced an economic boom.
Yeah.
And that was what they did. There was a lot of investment. The city that I'm from, this city here, Baltimore. I'm not actually in Baltimore. I'm south of it, but this was a very prosperous city because it had a lot of investment. There were a lot of things going on, and they were all positive. The schools were better. There were higher standards, but that we're not talking about that.
But if you look at a place like, I'll give you an example. Michael Moore became famous from that Michael and Me movie about Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan became a dump where everybody was poor because the liberals pushed all the jobs to China. Trump's bringing the money and the jobs back here in a way that's never been done before. Even these things like he does with with AI as an example. He wants AI done here, not in China or some Russian republic, right? And he is making America the center of not just being the number one economy, number one consumer nation, but the number one producing nation too. Again,
right, and that's the main thing. That is one of the other main things that we will become the main anchor for that.
That's right.
And he's trying to strengthen our position because for too long it's been given away to these other countries because we've never had a president. See, the difference between President Trump and all of the others and these Democrats, they want everything for themselves, whereas President Trump wants everyone to prosper.
That's
he
right.
wants prosperity for everyone.
He does. All right, Nick. Good to hear from you. Take care. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, if you're watching live on YouTube, you can call me live. The number's pinned in the live chat. It's 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're listening. We're celebrating this great deal that, shows that tariffs work. All right, let me play another clip, though. This is the president with the EU president earlier.
This started months ago, this negotiation. So we knew pretty much what we were getting into, and we were able to make a deal that's very satisfactory to both sides. So it's a very powerful deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest of all the deals. It will be the biggest of all the deals. So we're very honored to have done so. And your staff has been fantastic, and they've worked together very long and hard.
Yeah, I mean, so, they've been telling us that tariffs don't work all this time, and now, boom, we find out that they do work. And America, I don't blame, and I don't think President Trump does either, the European Union, these other countries, can you blame them for making these deals that benefited them? You're supposed to do what's best for your country. So all these other leaders, like the European Union and everything, they have great deals for themselves. That's what they're supposed to do. But the problem is, we've been living in a banana republic led by corrupt gangsters like Joe Biden. Right? Now, this was just the reporters, the fake news media. Listen.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the EU Commissioner President. What are the U.S. concessions? What is the U.S. giving up in the deal, if anything?
So the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the...
Okay, hear that? So that means nothing. The U.S. is giving nothing because we got a deficit on the trade deal. They got the surplus. This is great. This is the art of the deal, man.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the EU Commissioner President. What are the U.S. concessions? What is the U.S. giving up in the deal, if anything?
So the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the U.S. side. And we wanted to rebalance the trade relation. And we wanted to do it in a way that trade goes on between the two of us.
Yes.
Across the Atlantic, because the two biggest economies should have a good trade flow between us. And I think we hit exactly the point we wanted to find.
Yep.
Rebalance, but enable trade on both sides, which means good jobs on both sides of the Atlantic, means prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic, and that was important for us.
Okay, so so the question was by the reporter to the EU, what concessions did the United States make? And the answer, a little gobbledygook there, but none. So Trump made this incredible deal, bringing billions of dollars into the economy of the United States, and didn't make a single concession, and they signed the deal. I mean, that is probably the most historic deal ever made by a president of the United States. Don't you wish he was doing the negotiation with Gorbachev back in the 80s? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, now here's when the reporter really gets, just is really freaking out at Trump.
President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out?
Okay, now the reporter with that sounds like, is he English? It's hard to tell. It's not an American accent. He's asking, was part of the reason of the deal to knock the Jeffrey Epstein out of the news?
President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out?
Oh, you got to be kidding with that.
Sure.
No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
Who was that? Anybody know? What a scumbag. Does anybody know who the reporter was that said that? All right. Now, if you're on hold, hang in there. My name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. We'll take a break. I'll be right back. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Frank from West Palm. How you doing there?
All right,
Brian,
Frank.
You were absolutely correct. LaPorta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just completed my roof last week, and LaPorta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof on my residence. Tom LaPorta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring me that he had my back in all phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. LaPorta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA, family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection, and they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece. And one last thing before I forget, they were the least expensive quote that I received out of 4 quotes for roofing. I thank Tom LaPorta Roofing for all that they do.
Wow, Frank. Well, thanks so much. Tom LaPorta at LaPorta Roofing. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works with every type of structure, residential, commercial, municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. Also, don't forget, Tom LaPorta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's a single-family home or an HOA with over 200 units. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom LaPorta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaPortaRoofing.com. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas and annuities. You know, annuities are absolutely amazing. You know, with an annuity, no matter what happens in the market, markets go down, there's a crash, whatever happens, your investment in your annuity is safe. It never goes down. And you're guaranteed an income stream for the rest of your life. It is absolutely amazing. You know, we had Jupiter Joe Thomas was in studio with me a while back, and I asked him this question. I said, you know, a lot of working people, middle-class people invest in annuities, and also very wealthy people invest in annuities. When someone who's a high-income earner and someone who's a middle-class person comes to you, what are the different things that they're looking for? He says the same thing, income. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, a great thing about annuities, see, when you're in the workforce, people, you know, you got income coming in, people may feel a little more like gambling in an investment because they're still working, they lose money, they think, I can make some of that. When you're retired, though, you're no longer in the workforce and you don't have as much time to make up any losses. And an annuity with having a safe investment and a revenue stream for the rest of your life in your retirement, that is great. And you could do with whatever you want with that money. You can go and visit your grandkids. You can take a cruise around the world, or just go and play golf every day, or get your hair done every week, whatever it is you want to do. No one that I know is going to turn down another income stream, especially in retirement. And Joe Thomas offers free phone consultations, which you can take advantage of no matter where you are in the United States. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Joe Thomas. He's been in the retirement planning business for over 30 years, but listen to this. He's a 5-time qualifying member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is achieved by less than 1% of all financial advisors in the world. So he's a top man in the industry, and he's offering you a free phone consultation. That is amazing. The value of that alone is something, isn't it? And after that phone consultation, Joe Thomas is going to put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation, your needs, and your goals. Give him a call and take advantage of this. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website. It's easy to remember. JupiterJoe.com. All right? All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. If you're on hold, hang in there. I got a sneeze coming. Of course, I couldn't get the sneeze during the break. I got a sneeze coming. But we're celebrating this historic trade deal. Trump, the President of the United States, just signed this trade deal with the EU, the second largest economy in the world. So now we have the two largest economies in the world are now united. That's pretty powerful. That's right. Tariffs work. All right, let's take a call or two before we get to some more stuff. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Sean from Massachusetts.
Hey, Sean. What's up?
Yeah. You know, you couldn't write a better script for what Trump is doing right now. He's going back to the land where his family's from.
That's true.
He has an empire already there. He gets a new place built, the amazing golf empire that he's built there, amongst other places. And he goes in there and he just strikes a deal that's greater than anything for our country. And it's just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Isn't it?
And it's just, it's not going to stop. Everything he says, he promises it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, all this money, billions upon billions of dollars coming in to us. And, well, what's not to love about this age we're in? And that other call that called from Texas, what does he know? What is he seeing here? Because what's there not to like? I don't understand.
There's some things that everybody universally agree are good. And, and this is, how could you argue that this is not good? That's just stupid. So what we're going to hear a lot from the left this week, we're going to hear the name Epstein more than ever this week, because that's their go-to. That's their SOS.
That's true. Well, yeah, they don't. This is their last. That's the only thing they have.
Yeah.
Everything they don't realize. Well, there's a Obama-appointed judge that's holding back much information on that. They don't want to acknowledge that. Trump will get this out. Everything is being reformulated in that regard with the Epstein thing, and that should be in the background. What's happening right now in the country? We gotta, like I said before, you gotta focus on the good, and there's so much good, and it's out.
Well, this deal that happened today, it was really unexpected because President Trump had the press conference with the EU commissioner, and it was over. Mm-hmm. And then a few minutes later, they came back, they made the deal, and I played the clip before the break. I'm not sure if you heard it, but the reporter said, well, what concessions did the United States make? And she said, none. They had a deficit. We had a surplus. So they made all the concessions. This is a perfect deal.
It's America first at its finest. And you know what? It's completely the opposite of what we got in the last 4 years or anything Obama was
doing. The last forever. All the other presidents other than Trump were ripping us off. All of them.
It's true. Every one of them. And it's amazing how he comes up front here and just everything, and it's not for himself. It doesn't even matter if the man, this is the character of Trump. Even if he didn't come from the life he did have, he would all be for, this is just his character. He would be for America first, be the first one to ever do it, which he is, even if he weren't coming from the life he had before. Because that's who he is.
And another thing that they don't get, he is a leading economist, not just because he has the business degree from a good school, but he is successful in so many areas of business. He understands the economy and money in ways that you and I would never. He's like an Albert Einstein-like person when it comes to finances.
Yeah. He's on another level. It's the art of the deal in motion. Everything he applies, that book really does have everything. He applies principles that we won't even understand. Even that's not even the book, I'm sure. He's writing he could write a whole other book, a whole other anthology on what he's been doing if he really wanted to. But the art of the deal is in motion. And it's absolutely brilliant, and so many more good things to come, and we have a great more years ahead of us, and it'll last forever when he's done.
All right, take care, man.
I'm very sure of that.
Thanks for the call. Great call. If you're on hold, hang in there. Now, this is Tapper on CNN, and he's interviewing the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. the White House Office Director of Management and Budget. It's a mouthful of a title, but it's an important job. And listen to this.
CBO was using artificial baselines that treat spending as eternal and tax relief that was in law since 2017 to be temporary. And so if you adjust for that, and the bill does have additional tax relief, of which we paid for with spending reductions, this bill reduces deficits and will help us with the national debt. Overall, the moves that we are making as an economic team under President Trump's leadership will lead to about a third of what's necessary to balance the budget, given the numbers that you just articulated. Mm-hmm. That's just...
So think about, now this is the guy that runs the Office of Management and Budget at the White House. With the deals Trump has made already, and I don't think this includes the EU deal. I think this has got to be, it may include the EU deal. This is all breaking as we're speaking, so, you know. But even if it does, about, what did he say? A third of the debt is now covered by the deals Trump has made in the first 6 months of this second term. Wow. That's amazing. All right, let me rewind it a little bit and finish it.
Or with spending reductions, this bill reduces deficits and will help us with the national debt. Overall, the moves that we are making as an economic team under President Trump's leadership will lead to about a third of what's necessary to balance the budget, given the numbers that you just articulated. Mm-hmm. That's just in our 6 months. When you talk about the tariff revenues that are coming in, $3 trillion, CBO believes the same numbers that we have. And again, those are in advance of a number of the trade agreements that we're talking about over the next several weeks. So we're making big moves, and I think the country is going to come alongside of us and see the progress that we're making.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. And, you know, they're in a lot of trouble here. And, you know, the spy operation, while Obama may have immunity, President Trump said on Friday that Obama has immunity, but he also said those around him do not have immunity. Things are really coming to full circle with that. And what we're going to find, you know, President Trump's on a high. He's going to come back from Europe on a high because he's had this great victory. And what's going to happen with President Trump when he comes back is he's going to want to do something else big. And we may start seeing some prosecutions of these coup people. This is Barta Romo, and she's with the director of the CIA.
There is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel, and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. Right. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
Okay, now the reason I share that, this is very important, right, Cliff? He's the CIA director, okay? So, yeah, I know, it's pretty amazing. So what he is saying is he is working with Pam Bondi, as is Tulsi Gabbard, on this coup conspiracy and these conspirators. And he's saying there will be justice. Obama's not going to get arrested, okay? President Trump says he has immunity. That's the reality, okay, guys? Whatever, but he has it. But Brennan doesn't, Clapper doesn't, and all the rest of the conspirators. And and Radcliffe, he's the director of the CIA. He says it's ongoing. So no statute of limitations. So it's nice to see that we have multiple people in the Trump administration working together on this coup conspiracy. So it's only a matter of time now. That Radcliffe today gave me a lot of confidence. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Sam from New York.
Hey,
you
New
know
York.
why Europe isn't so stressed about the 15% tariffs, right?
Why I'm
Because
what?
as long as,
what am I? Yes.
No. You know why Europe isn't so stressed about the 15% tariffs,
I still didn't understand
I'm
what you
sure they
said.
would prefer 10. Okay.
I hear you saying words, but I'm not able to comprehend the thought that you're trying to make. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just, the beginning part's so muffled, I don't understand what you're saying.
You know why Europe isn't so stressed about
why is Europe not so stressed about the tariffs? Why is that?
Because as long as that 15% is lower than what Trump is tariffing the rest of the world, then it's likely going to be passed on to U.S. consumers because there's no pressure.
Oh my goodness! I don't even think you understand. What President Trump did, among other things.
Explain that.
It's hard to explain nonsense. I mean, you're babbling nonsense that doesn't make sense. So I can't explain your own insane, incoherent thoughts to you. But part of what Trump did, excuse me, I'm speaking. Part of what Trump did today, this is only one part of this great deal, is he has what's called reciprocal tariffs. Okay? So whatever tariffs we have on Europe is what they have on us. Whatever tariffs they have on us is what we have on them, on the particular types of products, and a long list of it. Before, the import-export taxes, the tariffs, were out of balance, right? They had. That's where the deficit that the EU was talking about is because they had such high tariffs on our goods and ours were so much lower, there was a deficit. So now the tariffs are equalized. So that's a good thing. It equals and balances out, on top of all the other things that are in the deal.
That's not going to shift supply chains to New York.
That's not going to shift what to New York? Supply chains?
No, it's not going to shift supply chains to the U.S. in general, unless.
Oh my goodness! Let me ask you: Are you reading to me from an economics 1101 textbook? I mean, do you live in the real world? What do you do for a living?
It doesn't matter what I do for a living.
Of course it matters. What do you do for a living? Do you have a job?
I do.
Okay. Do you pay your own bills? Do you live with mommy and daddy? Do you have your own house or apartment? You live with mommy and daddy. Okay, grow up and call me back, okay? Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. Now, if you would like to support my content, my podcast, my YouTube channel, everything I do, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening to me on. And when you become a Patreon supporter, you do get quite a bit for your support. You get commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes, okay, if you're a Patreon supporter. And you also get access to a lot of exclusive content, videos, vlogs, and other content that I post up there, as does my wife. And I just posted a vlog today that no one else will see except for the Patreon supporters. I did a podcast this morning. It is up on the Patreon page right now, commercial-free for Patreon supporters. And when this show ends, I will upload this program commercial-free to Patreon supporters as well. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to all that stuff. If you become a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode, plus you get your name up on screen on YouTube. So the names you will hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, and Janice. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. Again, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the episode on every platform. And the direct website address is patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Now, on that last caller, for those of you that may think I was too harsh on him, Or maybe you think I wasn't harsh enough. I mean, he needs to have a father figure in his life to teach him the way of the world, obviously. When someone lives with mommy and daddy and they're not paying their own bills, they don't understand and want to tell me how economics work. Are you kidding? Remember, I'll quote a well-known and respected Democrat, liberal, who's committed high treason, but sadly has immunity. I'm talking about Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama said to Joe the plumber, everyone's got to have some skin in the game. Sometimes you got to spread the wealth around. Remember that to Joe the plumber? Oh, boy. That's my favorite quote of Obama. Well, it's the only quote really I ever use of Obama. But when you're living with your parents and you're not paying your own bills, you're not buying your own food, paying your rent, paying your mortgage or anything, or your cell phone bill or whatever it is, you have no skin in the game. So, of course, you're against all these things because nothing matters to you. You're almost like a welfare recipient. So it's the reason I ask people sometimes, what do you do for a living or something, is not to make fun of people. It's to understand where people are coming from, because all of us, we have views and opinions on all these issues because of our own personal situation or life experience. So that's why I ask people, what do you do for a living and things like that, is to get an idea of where they're coming from. And a lot of times you do get an idea of where people are coming from when you ask questions like that. The Brian Craig Show podcast, by the way, is available on all podcast platforms. Just search for The Brian Craig Show. And on YouTube, if you watch me on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. You can catch the show live when I take live calls. And, of course, catch me weekday mornings on the radio on YouTube as well. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll talk to you next time.